I just want to remind everybody to make sure you fill out your SEI filings. Due by April 15th.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did the day it came in so I wouldn't forget this year.
Done.
I was so bad last year, I was like at the deadline. Yeah. So I learned.
I'm ready when you are.
Don't
Okay.
forget.
Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Creswell City Council for our March 28th work session. Would you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming tonight to join us for our meeting. We begin with number one, the mayor's report, and I'm so pleased to report that we have one person who's not here tonight. Thank you, Roberta. So, first announcement, we are down one counselor, Norma Jean Osborne. She did not let City Manager Michelle Amberger, I know, her absence, so she has an unexcused absence. So then we go on to mayor's report. And I was going to say, I'm pleased to announce that there is no mayor's report. So we're just going to move right on with the meeting tonight. To item number 2, committee reports. And we begin with the Administration and Finance Committee.
No report tonight, Mayor, but I would just make a comment to keep your court dates on your radar.
Okay. Public Safety Committee.
Yes. So the Public Safety Committee last met on Tuesday, March 8th at 5:30, where we continued the discussion of the National Night Out. And then our next Public Safety Committee meeting is scheduled for April 5th at 5:45 p.m.
Okay, thank you. All right, we move to Transportation and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. So that would actually be the Ad Hoc Roads Committee meeting. And I'm pleased to announce that we had our first meeting already, so we were able to squeeze one of those in before this work session so that we could bring you this report this evening. Once again, depending on how you look at it, Councillor Clark and myself either won or lost the coin toss, so I was selected as the chair and she is the secretary, and I'm super glad for the secretary part because she takes such excellent notes here that I'm going to refer to here as I give my report. So the meeting dove right into the review of the transportation system plan. Cliff gave us a pretty good overview of that plan. It is a 20-year plan, and that plan was put together in 2019. So it was created by a joint venture between the City of Creswell and ODOT, and is largely written by engineers and city planners. And I thought that that was good to call out in the report this evening, because for the general lay public, that would not be the kind of document that would really help you out as far as understanding the road needs. And so it was kind of pointed out by the committee that any kind of recommendation that we do come forward to needs to be done in such a way that it is very clear and easy to understand by the public. So that plan has all types of projects on there. One of the projects, a lot of the motor vehicle improvements are focused around the jog, the 99 jog that we're all familiar with. But that is an example of what would be considered an ODOT-led project as opposed to a city-led project. So as we talk about priorities, I know that a lot might say that that's a priority, and it is, but it is not a city-led project. We would be involved, but so. With the city-led projects, there are some high-priority projects that have been identified. Mr. Piper gave us a rundown of those, and those would be the things that are on the capital improvement plan. Second Street is the big project that's on there right now, is the first priority. There seems to be some discussion, some thoughts amongst the committee members that there may be other priorities, and so there's still a desire to give input on those priorities. That, however, isn't exactly what the charge reads. The charge essentially allows us to review those, but not necessarily give input to those or their priorities or things like that. The charge is basically focused around the funding. So just kind of want to make that clarification. Some things to note is that if we were to fund right now just the first phase of the Second Street project, we would not have enough money left to fund any other projects with our current funding streams. The request at the meeting was to ask Jim to come back with some more financial information about the funding that is needed to sustainably improve roads. Part of that, and part of what we will be doing at our next meeting, will be to review what the committee, the regular Transportation and Public Works Committee, the work that we did last year. And to do that, we'd kind of like to grab some of the notes, probably from that final meeting especially. And so we were going to ask Manager Amberg how we could process and approve those minutes so that they can then be distributed, and so the committee could take a look at those. And so we were wondering at our next ad hoc meeting if we can have a short Transportation and Public Works meeting just to approve those minutes and get them out there.
Let's say that again.
So the work that was done by that committee, all of that was captured there, especially in that last meeting, is going to be what we want to review as a committee. So just so we can approve those minutes and then review them.
The minutes from
From last year's transportation.
so those minutes were not ever approved?
Well, we had our last meeting, and then I don't know if we did any further meetings after that. We did do planning around now that I think about it, we did do some other planning for Public Works Day afterwards. So we probably already have approved minutes then, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be on the next meeting's agenda to review that, to review the information that Jim brings us as far as the financial information and funding that is needed to sustainably improve roads. There were questions around the charge that I'll leave at your discretion, Mayor, as to whether you would like to discuss now or in our agenda meeting tomorrow. There's probably 3 or 4 different things regarding the charge.
Okay. Why don't you bring those tomorrow and we'll look at them tomorrow when we meet.
Okay, yeah, that seemed maybe the appropriate time to do that, so.
Okay.
And let's see, I think, I'll double check my notes here. And we did set a new date. We've got the 24th of April, or 21st? Is that right? Okay. Yeah, the 24th, I think, is our work session. So we wanted to have at least one more meeting before the next report at council. Yeah, 21st is right. So we will meet the 21st at 6 p.m. And that is my report.
Very good. Good report. Thank you. And thanks, Shelley, for taking such good minutes.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Okay, so now we move on to the Parks and Tree Advisory Board. I believe that's Councilor Osborne, who's not present with us. Do you want to give any report or wait until we hear from Councilor Osborne?
Well, they're supposed to be giving you a presentation on the walking trails. And they have been working on the walking trails the last 2 meetings and have identified walking trails. They're not quite yet ready to bring forward a presentation, though.
So should we just push that back to next month and see if
Yes,
they're ready
please.
then?
Yes, please.
Sounds good. Okay. Airport Commission.
No report tonight, Mayor, until after April 20th, which is our next regular scheduled meeting.
Okay, very good. All right, ad hoc July 4th Town Hall Committee debriefing.
All right, that was a little bit different. I don't have anything in front of me because the report was experienced live by all that were there. So essentially, it's happened, and we've followed through on our commitment to have the town hall meeting. There's a good write-up in the Chronicle that I thought encapsulated how the meeting went. There was one thing that the Chronicle didn't include that I had given them in my comments that I'd like to share with you because I really feel that it's important. A lot of we'll all have takeaways from that night, I'm sure, and it'll take some time to kind of process all of that, but what my biggest gold nugget takeaway was how incredibly proud I am of my colleagues on the council and the city staff. You all did an amazing job. So that's my first and big takeaway that I'd like to throw out there. And then the rest is really open for discussion amongst us as far as how we want to debrief on our lessons learned. So.
I think I should have you moderate this since you are the chair of that committee, unless you would rather have me.
It's okay. Yeah, that works fine.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I know that we already have a plan to review, which ordinance are we reviewing, or is it the permit ordinance? Okay. And then there was the other one that resulted in the larger fine. Is that one come under review at all, or?
No.
Okay. So,
That's conspiring the larger one is conspiring to not follow an ordinance or to break an ordinance. And that one I think needs to stay on the books the way that it is.
okay.
I think the one that's under question and the one that our city attorney is going to assist us with is the one on the parade permit.
So I really think that last year presented quite a unique set of circumstances. What unlikely to happen again, but not impossible. So it's something to think about as far as, I think we've already discussed some thoughts about like how we'd like to see things move forward in the future. Fortunately, the chamber is picking up and doing a really great job with it. And I would at least publicly throw out there that I am really hoping that those involved last year might consider joining and being part of the festivities in Cresswell this year. Certainly, I think we're better as one in joining together. And so rather than, I'd like to set aside all those things that happened and start afresh this year. That's my thought. Any other thoughts?
No, for my takeaway was that it felt good to get this behind us. We did what we said we were going to do. We accomplished it. We gave an opportunity to answer questions as well as we could. And now I'm ready to just move forward and be done with it. It brought closure to this issue, for me personally.
Councilor Clark, any other thoughts on that?
I would agree. I agree with everything that has already been shared. In particular, how proud I am. I echo those statements of the work of the council and the work of the city staff. And I think that we are amazing, an amazing community. And so I'm just so proud of us for being able to come together. I think one of the strengths of our city in terms of city events is the 4th of July parade and the events that happen around the 4th of July. And I think I've shared this story with you all earlier. I will share it again, is that I know that when my partner and I first started dating and thinking about living together in Cresswell, one of the things that he shared with me is we're on the parade route, so like we've got a spot to watch it, and I mean, and that was an important part of even us coming together in Crestwell of how important that is. And then the parade route changed, and we moved a block, or we didn't move, but like we just walked a block to go watch the parade. But that it's something that is incredibly important to our city and our town and our story together. And so I'm excited for what the future brings and how we can be part of that, and how I personally can help volunteer and be really engaged in that. I think the other takeaway that I had from the town hall as well is that it was a good reminder for me that however I may view things or perceive things or understand kind of what truth is, gosh, I mean, no matter how thin the paper, there's always two sides. And so how I can, as a city councilor, keep checking in with myself to understand what truth and perspective is, and how we might be able to just make sure that we're doing all the work that we can do to include everyone, for them to be part of such a strong and important event for our city. So more work to be done, and I'm glad it happened. I mean, I'm not glad the events happened. I'm glad that the town hall happened.
Manager Edberg, I definitely would love to have your input as well. Yeah.
I'm not prepared to.
Okay,
comment. I'm
you don't
sorry.
have to
I'm
make a
just
comment if you
saying
don't
that.
want to, but if you did, I wanted to give you an opportunity, so.
Well,
okay.
I would agree that, that it was a privilege to be on the stage with all of you, and to have the solidarity that was shown, and also the thoughtfulness of the answers that were presented. I'm glad it's behind us as well. I look forward to moving on with this year's festivities. I'm excited for what the chamber is going to do, and I guess that kind of wraps up what I would say.
Okay, I'm sorry to put you on the spot there. I
That's
knew
all
you
right.
weren't ready for that. Counselor, I'll just continue
I
around the
would
table here.
agree
so-
with everyone, but also thank you to the committee for putting that in the church and made it all happen. I mean, it was very planned and structured, and the agenda, and it went smoothly. And hopefully everybody, got their opportunity, which I think they did, and that's what we were there for. So thank you back to the committee.
I do have one question. Do we know how many people watched online? I was disappointed that so many, like 10 out of 12 speakers were not from Crestwell. And I'm very glad that we kept our word and had the meeting. And, Sergeant Denham and Manager Amberg were really in the hot seat, very professional. And I think all of the citizens of Crestwell would have just gained some insight into the inner workings of this. There was this thought process out there that the city demanded that Sergeant Denham issue a fine, when the city didn't demand anything. There was a violation of an ordinance, and the sergeant did his job, and so therefore there was a fine. It's pretty black and white. So I wish more Crestwellians had attended the town hall, and I would like to know how many people watched it.
So Jim has an answer, and so do I, but go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I was moderating the channel during the town hall meeting, and I saw 25 people online watching at the time, and then.
It looks like we may have had the highest viewed YouTube now, because that's 310 views on that particular video. Since I don't know how that compares to the others, but that's the highest number I'm seeing on my screen here. So 310 have viewed that.
That's good.
That's great. That's
That
great.
makes me
Opportunity
Makes me feel
for
the time well spent.
opinions and questions, information to get out there. That's great.
Yeah.
I do know many Crestwellians that did watch,
Good.
that let me know, so.
Same, yeah.
Good.
Good, yeah.
So I included Sergeant Denham and staff when I was talking earlier about how proud I was. So I want you to know that for sure, Sergeant. You did definitely take a lot of that heat. Also to Bobby in the back here, because you didn't even have to be there at all, and we suckered you into it. So just thank you for being there too.
It was definitely a
Appreciate
team
it.
It's
effort.
true. That's true.
All right, and then do we have any comments from our illustrious mayor this evening?
So, Cameron,
Yes.
can you send me, or maybe tomorrow give me email or phone number for Cameron?
Yes,
So I can reach out and say thanks
you bet.
for being our moderator,
Mhm.
and thanks to the Baptist Church as well, for providing a facility. So as you've all said, I appreciate Sergeant Denham and Manager Amber and Bobby joining us up there for the discussion time and for the response time. And you at the committee, you put together a good presentation. So.
Thank you.
And I would, oh, go ahead. sir.
And I respect you and the council, those of you who were here last year, for saying, we made a commitment to this, we need to do it.
I would just comment that when I met with the church, as we discussed having that there, the consensus of the church was they felt that they owed it to the city government.
And it's good to know so many people were online. I had a couple people contact me as well and say, I was online, I was watching. So,
All right, that concludes then that report.
okay. So, LCOG, no report. The next meeting is scheduled for later in April. So, Lane Act.
Oh my goodness, get excited. Because it's late at time.
She's a transportation geek. I mean that in a nice way.
I take it as a heartfelt comment. So we met March 9th, was our last meeting. Our next meeting, again, get excited, is April 13th. It's happening over Zoom. There's going to be a presentation at the April 13th meeting about the JOG project that is upcoming, the Crestwell Signal project. I'm trying to get a more specific time that that's going to be happening, and get confirm the correct Zoom link, and then I'm more than happy to distribute that if you all would like to be there, and to share that with others if they would like to be there. I know Aaron from the Chronicle is very excited to attend as well, so I think it will be a well-attended Crestwell Lane Act meeting. So that's why I said I want to make sure that I'm getting the specific time for you all so that you can plan your evening as well. But on March 9th, so we talked a little bit about, so we got some updates on the flexible highway spending funds and kind of what's going on with that. There was an ODOT open house, and the ability to provide some feedback back to ODOT about spending of those funds. And so if you had the opportunity to take the survey, they were there to help kind of share a little bit about what kind of information were they giving back on that. So, so again, I can give you more of a deep dive on that if you are interested in that. And then we also talked a little bit about, we had a great presentation from Springfield about their Main Street renovation project and kind of how that's coming in waves and what their plan is for that. So we got some really great information. There's exciting stuff that's happening in Springfield, upcoming with their stuff. And then we had a little bit of conversation around the consolidation of ODOT public transportation funding programs. And so got a presentation from Mark Bernard on that. And then the last item on the agenda, we didn't really talk about too much, which was about the act formation and some operations final policy stuff. But in addition to the presentation about the Crestwell Signal project that's coming up in April, we're also going to get an update on a project that has been in the works for over a year and a half, which is about the Lane Act strategy. So some strategic planning that's happening with that. So I was not part of the subcommittee that was working on that, so I am eager to find out what is happening with our strategic planning and kind of what's coming up with Lane Act that way. So, so if you are excited about the Signal project and want to learn more, Oh gosh, it's part of the same meeting. You can be there too. So, and then I'm also really excited that Curtis Thomas is going to be joining me. So Maddie Phillips was my pal, my co-attendee for the City of Crestwell for Lane Act. And so Curtis is going to start joining as well. So I'm excited about that. So that'll be good.
Looking forward to it.
So that's what's happening for Lane Act.
Thank
Here's your
you.
exciting update.
We appreciate your enthusiasm very much. Okay, so we move on to item number 3, which is our presentations, and we begin with Andy Vabora. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Hey, Andy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving me some time on your agenda today. And I want to share a few slides. Do I need to do something? Oh, it's coming. All right. The timing is good for me to check in with you because we just recently presented our semi-annual report to the Board of County Commissioners. So Travel Lane County is a 501c6. We're a partnership organization, and we have a grant agreement with Lane County to do destination marketing for the county. And so twice a year, we get to give a formal report to the Board of Commissioners, semi-annual, and then our annual report comes out, usually is ready about September. We're on a fiscal year that starts July 1. And so our illustrious leader, Carrie Westland, just celebrated her 25th anniversary with the organization. She is a superstar in the industry, and we're lucky to have her here. Wanted just to point out on this slide, just really quickly, our brand promise slightly changed this year, a little bit different than it's been in the past, but still reflects the kind of the outdoor nature of all of Lane County and what's approachable. So again, great variety of adventures, easy to reach in uncrowded places, which has proven very successful during COVID, I should say. Because a lot of leisure travelers been in our area, which has really helped sustain us, and we'll talk about what that's looked like here real soon. So, room tax revenues. The better we do our job, the better we do it increasing overnight stays. And if we do a great job with that, that means all of us collectively in the county get more revenue to work with. And as you can see here, this just blows our mind. For 6 months of the year, we're up 74%, and that's over last year, okay? So that's a COVID year, but it's also up over pre-COVID years, and it's an all-time record. So, pre-COVID, our best year for a total year with tax returns was about $12.6 million for the county. So we are well ahead of that, and January, February also look very strong. So excited to see that, and you're kind of like, well, how did that happen? Because through COVID, big part of that, we obviously didn't have any convention business, sports was kind of sputtering, and we'll touch on all those subjects. It really was being carried by leisure travel. And so that remained pretty strong as things opened up through COVID, not certainly in the beginning of COVID, but as things began to open up, we worked really closely with the county health department and made sure our messaging was proper. Didn't want to invite lots of people from outside the area in during those early stages, but then as things started to open up, we were able to start marketing again the region, and people did find our region really attractive to come to. So the Florence area in particular really set kind of records throughout COVID because we were promoting staycations, everybody stay close to home, and so Florence was a good little outlet for people, and so they saw record returns over there, so they were pretty busy throughout. That was good for their local economy. So the lodging sector and what's driven these record room tax receipts is a couple things. Strong travel, and then we got some sports back. So the university football stadium had fans this year, which was good. Basketball arena had fans this year, that was good. And so that helped, but also rate came back. So the hotels, particularly in the metro area, took the biggest hit, and rates really got hammered hard early in COVID. Many of them were closed down for a short period of time and then struggled to kind of get back going. And a lot of those in the metro area especially rely on that convention business. which just was non-existent. So really happy to see in this last calendar year, 2021, the rates start to come back up, as you can see there. And occupancy isn't as big a factor for us. We really look more at room demand, and room demand came back strong. So we have 3 target markets in terms of our work. We have the leisure traveler, which is tourism marketing. We have sports event planners, and then we have convention planners to bring that business here to our region. So let's touch on each of those. Tourism, or the leisure travel market, again, worked really closely with the health department, and we were finally able to start opening up and doing marketing. So we typically market in about a 500-mile drive radius, so Spokane, Seattle, Boise, Idaho, that's where we're drawing from. Get those people, pull them in here to Lane County. Portland is actually a really strong market for us as well. Because a lot of the big attractors up in the Portland area get really busy, and so we can actually pull a lot of the Portlanders down here for a little getaway. But that's our 500-mile drive market, and then we really kind of hit our key flight markets, and those flight markets have direct air service into Eugene, so we work in those markets as well. And we do that on our own with our regional marketing group, and also Travel Oregon at different levels. So we did a little brand refresh this year, and you can kind of see it in our logo. Again, we market the region as Eugene Cascades and Coast. And so we have a new campaign that's just launching right now, and we're really excited about how that's working. And then our leisure team also worked with our convention team to actually host an event. So we had the Wine Media Conference. So it was a conference, but it was also media writers from around the country talking about the wine industry. And so that was one of our very first conferences coming out of COVID. So they worked really hard together on that. We got some great earned media coverage from that event. And so I'll just point to a couple of the goals that the team had for the year. 15 stories in top tier publications, getting our region mentioned in stories in some of these top tier publications. That'd be like Sunset Magazine and some big name kind of publications like that. So halfway through the year, they had 9 of 15 placements, so they were ahead there. You can see on the paid media side, we were really able to push that back out. So we had over almost 17 million impressions, which is even ahead of the pre-pandemic levels. So really getting out in front of people, which is great, but that's not the important part. The important part is, are people actually clicking on the media that you're putting in front of them? And you can see there, 78,000 clicks to our key content just in the first 6 months of the year. So very active on our social channels. And then we were really excited about our leisure e-newsletter signups. A couple of years ago when the European standards came out and you had to have people opt in to get your information online, our e-newsletter database shrunk to almost zero, and we had to rebuild it. And so we've been doing that for years, and now we're up to, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 people that are getting our e-newsletter from our travel or our leisure team every month. And you can see there, they continue to really work hard at that, up 300% for the fiscal year. And then working with our business partners at the organization, if a business wants to offer a deal or a promotion, we upload that onto our site, and we can use that in content and then drive people to that through our social marketing. So you can see a couple thousand clicks to those offers that were made. On the convention side, as I said, it's been a pretty slow go. Oregon's restrictions were very tight, which was, I think, smart, but it put us at a little disadvantage for other areas of the country which weren't as tight. So a lot of that convention business went elsewhere. But people were always excited about, rebooking and coming back, and that's what we've begun to see. So you can see that we're able now to get out to trade shows and talk with those planners. We had a goal, planner contacts of 200 for the year, and we're actually surpassed that halfway through the year, 253 contacts. You can see in terms of the request for proposals, converting into leads, we had a goal for 30, and year to date we're at 43, so we're really pacing well ahead of what we thought. Rooms booked, a goal of 10,000 rooms booked for the year. We were just about that at mid-year, and we've surpassed that. and then the rebookings. And so it's really coming back. People want to get back together, and conferences are looking up. We just hosted our biggest one in the last 2 years. Last week, we had about 480 people in market, and I know there were some other things going on at the U of O. They had several hundred people over at conferences on the U of O campus. So that's coming back. It's looking really strong. On the sports side, sports throughout the pandemic, they were able to work within the rules that were set a little bit, and so we saw a few things that were still able to happen, like the Scandia run was actually one of the early ones, that first fall of the pandemic in 2020. And within the regulations, they found a way to actually host it in person. A lot of those events went to virtual where, you can do a fun run, go run by yourself and register your results. That's a lot of fun, although I did about 10 of those myself. But a lot of our sports folks, again, really kind of made that work. The big collegiate stuff, all that stuff, things were happening, but no fans, so that wasn't creating any economic impact. So it was really relying on a lot of our local sports planners, doing small tournaments and things that were still bringing people into the area for that. But again, we've moved out of that last year, and we're starting to see some really good returns from what happened. And if we take out the booking of future NCAA track meets, the estimated economic impact of the work of our sports commission is up about $5 million. So that's really exciting, and you can see some of the things that we've got coming. We've got the rowing championships happening out of Dexter, which is really awesome, the Pac-12 championships. And with a few investments out there in terms of a new dock and some things, that could become a really great opportunity for us to host many more big rowing events out there, because it's a really prime location for that kind of activity. There's a whole host of great track and field coming. Everything's focused on the World Championships, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But track starts this weekend, Friday and Saturday at the Hayward Premier. So the collegiate season's getting started, and then in May you've got a number of invitationals. You got the Prefontaine Classic, and then June is just jam-packed every single week. You got the NCAA championships, the National High School Championships, which will bring 5,000 or 6,000 high school kids here. You've got the USA Championships. Actually, 2 USA meets. There's the under 20 championships for 3 days, and then the USA Championships to select the team to go to the World Championships in July. So if you like track and field, this is your year to go to Hayward Field and see some great track and field. Our website performance, as you can see by some of these numbers, and I don't know why my slides got all wonky there, but again, outpacing 2019 pre-pandemic levels. So our content team, which is everybody on our team, writes content either for the web or blogs or social media, and it all gets intertwined. They do a fantastic job, and that's what drives people and makes sure that we rise up and are seen when people do searches. So you can see there we've got 659,000 sessions in the first half of the year, and 512,000 unique users just in the first 6 months of the year. So our website is very active. We're very proud of the work that's done there. And this chart I put up here is some new data. We're started getting data from a company called Zartico, and they use anonymized data that allows us to really track who's in market and where they're traveling to. So this is going to be really interesting as we get to learn more about it, because we can get that down to a point of interest. So your 4th of July parade, we can actually look at the data and know where people came from to come down here to Creswell and analyze that. We can analyze spending through them gathering credit card data and other things that really allows us to know kind of who our travelers are and where they're moving around the county. So excited to dig into that a little bit more in the year ahead. My department is stakeholder relations. We do destination development or visitor services, and we have membership and a couple other things that we do. But Jeff Malik on my team gets out and works throughout the county with chambers of commerce and their tourism committees on different projects. does a lot of work in terms of looking for grants for communities and the Chambers of Commerce, and writes a lot of support letters for the grants that they're going after. So he's out there a lot, as well as a lot of our tourism staff working throughout the county. So we've got a couple of things that he'll be focusing on this year. We've got a number of things related to accessibility we want to work on. One is expansion of hearing loops. I don't know if you're familiar with hearing loop technology, but hearing loop technology allows somebody that uses hearing devices to get that signal right into their hearing device and be able to communicate or enjoy a concert. So a lot of the venues now are looping their venue space so that people with hearing disabilities can enjoy those kinds of activities. And so we're going to set aside some money this year to work with a number of our partners to really kind of push that out to them, especially some of our smaller lodging partners who maybe don't have the money to put up for something like that, because there's some very basic ones for $400 to $600 that you can have at a hotel check-in desk. We use one in our lobby at our visitor center. And so we want to get that technology out there. The second thing we're going to work on around accessibility is trail accessibility. So we're working with Mobility International to do trail assessments and be able to provide information for guests about accessibility of trails. So whether, it'd be about slope and different amenities that trails have to accommodate people with disabilities. So we want to really make it more equitable for folks to understand what's out there and what they can enjoy in our destination. So those are a couple things. Jeff's also going to work on the Connect Lane bike project, which some of you may be familiar with. That work that's been going on for years now and slowly moving forward. So we're going to continue to work on that wayfinding project to connect our rural communities for cyclists, which is a great project, and some other trail improvement projects that he'll be working on. So you'll be learning more about that. We're watching your process in terms of your 5-year planning work and want to support you in whatever you guys come up with through that process. So let me end with a little touch on the World Championships on the right-hand side. Those are just some of the things that our organization is working on. I do a whole presentation, a lot of them, on this and the different roles that the local organizing committee has, the city of Eugene, and then what Travel Lane County is bringing to the table. But we're super excited. What a great opportunity to have people from around the world come here. The viewing audience for this event is going to reach about 1 billion people worldwide. There's a lot of broadcast time that NBC will be showing, and so there's a lot of assets being developed for them to show off our entire state and Lane County. So all those kind of lead-ins to the breaks and coming back, you have that B-roll that's showing off our beautiful county and the rest of the state. I'm happy to, I'll just probably, if I get into that, I'll be here for a long time. So I'll just stop and say that the Welcome to the Heart and Home of Track and Field is what we're calling a community brand. So the World Athletics Championships has their own brand. Can't touch that. That's theirs. They'll market that. They own the event. So we wanted to come up with our own community brand, playing off the colors of their logo, and because we believe we are the heart and home of track and field. And so this is a brand that we can use before the World Championships, after the World Championships are long gone. And so we've developed some hard goods and some apparel and things that utilize this brand, and we're making that available to all of our business partners through an e-commerce site that folks can access and dress up their employees, dress up their storefronts, and welcome the world here in July. So I am going to stop there and answer any questions you might have.
Well, Andy, along the line with what you just talked about, I don't know if you knew that Crespo will be hosting the team from Finland.
I know that there's a number of communities that have been working on training camps, and I'm glad to hear that it's finalized. I mean, one of the big challenges, as you know, if you followed that, was finding places for some of the federations that had hammer throwers. So no high school facility has a hammer cage, and so.
Do you know that we're putting one in Crestwell?
I know it, I know, that's awesome.
I'm raising funds right now.
Excellent. Yeah, that was the big hangup, man. We had like
Yeah.
20 different federations that had hammer throwers, and we're like, oh, no. So we're happy to see that, and we've got a couple other communities that are working on with federations, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that those come to fruition as well. I know Marist High School is going to be hosting the USA team, and Cottage Grove, I know, is working on the Czech Republic, and the McKinsey folks are working on somebody. So we know it's out there. That's a great opportunity to host these federations, and we're excited to see that happen down here, for sure.
We're very excited.
Yes, Ken?
I think that dovetails into a really good question. You mentioned the hammer throwing cage, and so can you think of other things that are needed that small cities like Crestwell might be able to do, such as that would maybe be an attraction?
For something into the future, you're thinking?
Something, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that is useful in the future, for sure. That's a great question. I haven't ever had that question come up, but you have something in mind?
No, nothing in mind, but I was just thinking about how a lot of this stuff is intertwined. You talked about how the tourism affects our transient room tax and our
Yeah.
ability to collect that. And so I know one thing that Crestwell could use is more hotels, definitely lacking in that area. So, but then other things like the cage or something like that would be possibly an attraction to help draw people, so.
Yeah, the accommodations piece has been huge. As you can imagine, just in the metro area of Eugene, Springfield, we only have 4,400 hotel rooms. And in the last 2 years, we've lost 300 and some through county purchases and other redevelopment that's going on in Eugene that took up one other hotel. So that meant compressions. That means everybody's filling up, which in this case means that people are now booking as far north as Newburgh and into Portland, down to Roseburg, over to Florence, obviously. And short-term rentals has been a huge piece of that accommodations puzzle. And so one of the big kind of pushes that we're going to get behind is really having people think about getting rooms onto those short-term rental platforms. A lot of people I think in this day and age, like, oh, I got to give up my whole house. Well, not really. I mean, if you have a room or two and you want to throw it out there, you're going to be making $200 to $300 a night per room. And helping somebody out, it seemed like you're helping them out at $300 a night, but not that that's what you need to charge, but. So I think that's something that's an opportunity for lots of folks to still get involved. And I think it'd be a great experience, to host somebody, another country, or even from our country who's coming across country to visit this meet. But yeah, accommodations has been a big challenge. Yeah. And don't believe everything you read in the news about 200,000 visitors coming for this event. It's not 200,000. They keep getting that mixed up with the number of tickets sold. So you have 1 or 2 sessions a day over 10 days. They're going to sell they're already over 100,000 sessions sold, and they're shooting for 200,000. So again, divide that by 10, that's 20,000 people in this, and it's not even quite that many because they don't have that much room for spectators. I think the spectator seating's about 18,000 or so. So it's like 200,000. Any other questions for me?
I don't know if it's a question. I do have a question, but
Okay.
I'll start out with the thing I noticed that I really appreciated is that in your marketing, you really focused on the word "and" a lot, and I think that that's amazing. It's a really powerful word, and so I noticed that it was standing out a lot, and I also noticed, because that tells me inclusion, right? You're thinking about how can we bring more people in and help them experience the beauty that is Lane County. And then I also noticed in your presentation that you were talking about intentional ways that you're thinking about trails and accommodations and making them accessible, as well as the hearing loops. I think that that's fantastic, and I really appreciate that you all are living the word "and."
Yeah, we were excited about that campaign. So we had another campaign which was called our Go campaign. If you remember that one, I talked about it in the past with you probably, but which really kind of focused on communities and the primary trip motivators that might bring somebody there. So again, it was the dune buggies on the sand dunes in Florence, or the mountain biking up in Oak Ridge. And so that was a real successful campaign. So we were just working towards this campaign, and then COVID hit, and nothing could happen. So everybody's been chomping at the bit to introduce this. So the idea is come for this and then stay for this. And so it's got a powerful message. So thank you.
And then I think that only other question I had was, I think similar to what Kevin asked, is what is it that Creswell is a gem. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing place, right? They have opportunities waiting to be discovered and things that I'm glad that are kind of a best kept secret. And so what is it that Creswell can be doing to be able to be shown off on the national or international stage to help bring more people into our rural community?
Yeah, I mean, some communities obviously just have that natural kind of attractor. So on the coast, you've got the coast. It's the number one attraction for anybody coming to Lane County is the coast. So they've already got that. And then other communities, I think, are always trying to figure out what that is for them. I mean, we have this same kind of conversation with Coburg. What do you want to be? And who do you want to attract? And so it's really for the community to decide, what that is, and then we can leverage that and exploit it out in the marketplace. So I think there's some great opportunities around cycling. I'm a cyclist, so I come down all over the county, but I think the access to wine country, which we have great wine country throughout South Willamette Valley, I think that's another thing. And so, I think that's up for you all to kind of noodle, and whatever you guys come up with, we're going to come in behind you and really market the heck out of that. And I would also say, Travel Oregon, started this new grant program this year called Destination Ready. And a lot of the communities, I think it caught everybody a little bit by surprise in terms of the lead time to get prepared and submit a grant application for that. Florence got funded for that, which you might say, Florence, they've already got all that great stuff. Why do they need that? But they got it, and that's great. And we had a couple other communities, I think, submit applications that didn't get funded, but that'll come back around. And I think that's something for the City Council and the Chamber of Commerce to talk about and see if that's something you want to apply for, because what they do then is bring in their experts from Travel Oregon to work with you to really examine those questions. What are our strengths and weaknesses? What are our opportunities and threats? And come together around some vision for the community and see kind of what we're ready for and how we get there. So think about that. It'll come around, I think, again next year. And it's something that I'd like to talk to Jeff on my team about, if for those communities who maybe didn't get in on that, is there something that we can do? There's only a couple of us, but maybe we could get out and help facilitate that in the interim before Travel Oregon would come to help.
I was wondering if there's any TV spots ahead of the track event for Emerald Valley Golf Course here in Creswell, or for our city airport, which is fantastic, and we've done a lot of work to get that. And then if you had drone footage of Creswell, we have the trap shooting facility that a lot of locals don't go to, but they just recently had an event with hundreds of people.
Yeah, they're a partner of ours, so we're familiar with them. And we've got drone footage and thousands of photo assets that are always available to any partner who you guys are. And so anytime you need video or photo assets, you should always call us and we can kind of delve into our library. And if we don't have it, we'll get it on the list, but you'd be surprised at how much we have available. In terms of, you know, a television buy, you know, that's not something that we do. We have to go buy it if we're going to do it too, and place our own media purchases. But I did have somebody ask me about that, and NBC is the rights holder for the event, and they'll have packages for local businesses to tap into. So I usually just pass, you know, those kind of inquiries along to the staff over at NBC 16. I will say, that's the kind of the business side of NBC 16. On the news side, they've been super to work with. I kind of pressed them. I said, you know, this was about a month ago. I said, we need to start having a weekly story on the championships because there's so many different elements to it. Either the city of Eugene are managing the organizing committee around the event itself, or as a destination that we're working on. We've got tons of content. And so they've stepped up. We meet every couple of weeks, plan out a few stories, and then they get their teams out and shoot them and roll with it. So they've been great to work with, and we're starting to transition that to several radio stations as well. And the great thing about the NBC stuff is that it then runs on their affiliates, you know, in Southern Oregon, Medford, Roseburg, and KGW in Portland. And so those stories get spread far and wide. So that's been great. Great partnership.
Thank you.
So Friday is April 1st, so any business should get onto that e-commerce site. The way the e-commerce site works to buy some of this Heart and Home clothing and assets, and the other assets are things like table tents and coasters for bars and restaurants that have a welcome to the Heart and Home, but they have a QR code that will link people right to our site. So if they have any questions about the event or the destination, everything is loaded on that site on our webpage. But the way the e-commerce site works is there's a 12-day order window. So 1st to the 12th, get your order in, and McKinsey so on gets it all together and gets it out to the businesses, and then another window opens up. But there's only a couple of windows left. Time is flying. Next week, we're inside 100 days till the event. So it's like, ooh, it's coming right up. So, all right. Well, if you ever have any questions, Andy at travellanecounty.org, get that message to me. Happy to answer any questions you have, things like assets. You just have a general question, happy to answer it or find the answer for you. And we've got a great experienced staff that is working hard to promote Lane County. So thank you all.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Thank
being
you
here.
very much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
bet.
Okay, we follow that up with Bobby Ladley from the Creswell Chamber of Commerce, giving us your annual report.
Our report will not be near as extensive
Oh.
as that presentation. I believe you all have the report in your packages. I would say nothing really differs from what we presented, other than the fact that the chamber board, the staff, they're really stepping up their game. You know, the number of businesses we've been able to repair relationships with and reestablish those, and then the support that's going on with that. The Mother's Day yard sale, Mother's Day weekend yard sale is off and running. It's going great. So we have a lot of registrations for that, in agreement with the paper to have that presented. There was also discussion last week with Bill Spencer over at 76 to have, maps available in the station there. So we will have that available for people that travel to Creswell, as we know they do, for the yard sales. So that's rocking along, and we're also heavily working on the 4th of July, obviously. The site for the fireworks has been secured, the fireworks themselves, the deposit's been paid, that agreement's in place. We had a meeting last week looking, with several volunteers from the community showed up, which was awesome, that there were, I think, 7 or 8 outside of just the board members and chamber staff that were there expressing interest in making sure that things went off well and volunteering there. If not to be necessarily involved, they have so much historical knowledge, which is what we lack. So there was a lot of those there willing to offer their expertise, which is certainly beneficial for us. So that's really all I have, unless there are specific questions.
When will you start getting entries for the parade for people that want to be in the parade?
So we will probably get through, well, I don't know the exact answer for that. Jessica Lanstra is leading our parade committee.
Oh, she's
So
got a little
she's-
experience.
Yeah, she has a little experience. So she, along with Ruth Ann and Cassie and Sandy, are working to make sure that we have a new website, a new Facebook page, to make sure that all that's flawless, so when somebody clicks on it, it actually works properly and we get the information. So they're ironing all that out, and I'm not sure when Jessica's going to open registrations.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So one thing I noted on here was that you are seeking to staff the visitor center at least 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Do you do that through volunteers as well?
No, we have done that for well over a year now. Ruth Ann Syme, she's our community engagement specialist. She's our one and only paid employee, but she's there. That is
Does that,
staffed and
okay.
has been.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if you
And
needed
Sandy
volunteers.
O'Brien is here also. She's one of our board members, and Sandy spends a great deal of time there also volunteering. So,
Cool.
You mentioned fireworks.
yes, sir.
What is the site going to be this year?
It will be back at the school grounds, the historical Crestwell site, what
Yay.
all Crestwellians are accustomed to. We are back there. We have an approved facility use permit with the school board,
Good.
so that's done. So that was a big check to get that done. So I know everybody would be happy to have it back over there.
Good. So, any plans to resume monthly meetings?
We have monthly meetings,
Oh,
twice a month, the second and the fourth.
for all the chamber members?
The second, those are board meetings.
Okay.
The fourth Tuesday of the month is our work session. That's
Okay.
where we discuss events and stuff, and it's open. The first Tuesday is just the board members. We have had several discussions about working towards luncheons and/or after-hours events, so, meet and greets or some way to have our members and the community be able to interact with us. And there's a lot on both sides of the table, right? There's a lot of people who live here but work somewhere else, so they can't be here during the day for lunch. And there's a lot of people who don't want to do something after work. So we're trying to figure out, and we may have to do some of it, you may have to rotate it, bi-monthly each way, just to try to hit every person, so, or give them an opportunity.
And how's it coming with recruiting volunteers for pancake breakfast and so on?
Pancake breakfast is probably the most volunteered event we have at this point. And even Councilman Castillo has stepped up and volunteered. So certainly the challenge has been laid out to the rest of the council, since you already have one of your members who has volunteered to help, then the rest, the opportunity.
I got my phone call.
He did.
Roberta got her phone call.
Okay, all right,
I'll
so
have to get back to you. I am going to be in the parade as a participant, so.
we would like the city council to be in the parade.
Well, do you know the
obviously,
city
as a-
council
as a-
marches in the parade?
Yeah, I'm going to drive my car
Okay.
with all the graphics on it.
So
But
city
thank
council,
you.
we have a tradition of walking in the parade at the very front, right behind the Boy Scouts, along with other mayors from Lane County and county commissioners who will join us. So
We certainly
now
want
you
to
know that
continue that.
you're invited to do that.
Awesome.
We certainly want to continue that tradition, and like I said, Sandy, you keep a note of who all's volunteering. 'Cause we know-
I've got all these.
You know we've got a line, so you
Yeah,
step up
actually,
first thing,
the
so.
mayor's correct. He got there several people got their call and answered the call.
Sweet.
And those folks who've been around for like 15 years were so excited. And I really have pushed, if you know anybody else that wants to do it, please come.
So, I
Please
mean,
volunteer.
obviously, the majority of the board has very limited history in Crestwell. We saw the need and stepped up, but we are really lacking that historical knowledge. So it was extremely exciting to see the number of people that showed up to our last planning session and volunteered their knowledge. So, obviously, we will lean on the city, Cliff, for the sand that we usually have for the fireworks and any barricades that you can put out. And we'll obviously have to get other barricades and do that kind of stuff. But, yeah, we're rocking along, working on it. It's no small undertaking.
No, it isn't.
Just listening at that meeting, it sounds like we need a lot of volunteers.
Right. We will never once look back and say we had too many volunteers, never. So that won't happen, no matter how many we get.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Bobby?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you for your
Good,
work.
Bobby.
Okay, so we're down our agenda to number 4, which is the Alice training. But what we're going to do is we're going to swap out 4 and 5. So first of all, we're going to talk about 5, upcoming meetings and events. And what I think everything's pretty much self-explanatory, but I want to have comments from our city manager about the virtual strategic planning that is April 12, April 13, and April 14. Can you fill us in on that and what expectations or commitments from the council that you need to have?
Well, those are going to be the community's opportunity to speak with the consultants. What we're going to do is we're going to have 2 virtual committee meetings where people will be able to virtually attend. One will be on the 12th, which will be from 11:30. And so we will do that virtually. Then on the 13th, that one will also be virtually, but that one's going to be at night and start at 6:30. And then on April 14th, we'll have a live, in-person community visioning meeting. And this is when they're going to collect information from the community. It's another opportunity for the community to speak up and talk to the consultants.
So the first 2 are virtual, meaning they're on one of our platforms?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the expectation for council members for these 3 meetings?
It would be nice if you would attend one of the meetings. It's important. I was going to talk to you tomorrow about the mayor doing the introduction and the welcome to each one.
I saw that. Okay,
Okay?
okay,
They
so,
have a script you can use.
oh, I can read scripts,
Yes.
sure. So the first 2 are virtual, and the encouragement is to go online and participate. The third one is live, and the encouragement is come if you can.
This will not be the only opportunity for the city council to give input. There will be a city council-focused session where she will work directly with just the city council to get information and start working on what the strategic plan is going to look like. So if you can't make any of these, don't worry. It's not your only opportunity, and you should have individually been contacted already as stakeholders. Hopefully they contacted you and, no?
I just got mine last week, but I haven't got follow-up as to when it's going to be. So who has not heard anything about an individual appointment? Because you should all be getting an email about individual appointment. Okay, so 3 have not. Remember, Jean, you raised your hand, you had not heard anything yet either? Okay. And it would be coming via an email to your council email address.
I'll check again, but I didn't see one.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Yes.
Just to clarify, these will all be Zoom meetings?
I'm not sure what the meetings are going to be, but there will be information on the social pinpoint on how to access the meeting. So you'll need to go to the social pinpoint, which you should have the address for that. It's gone out.
We got it today
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
in the weekly update.
So then I would log on to these meetings through the pinpoint?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be sending out more information as we get closer to the date.
Okay, sounds good.
So you don't have to worry about that tonight.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief break, and we are going to go offline, is my understanding, for our ALICE training, so that will not be broadcast.
Webcast.
Won't be webcast. Okay, so with that, we're going to take a brief break. If you need to use the restroom, please do so.